What's going on, guys? So in today's edition of Sasuke Shinden, the Teacher Star Pupil, we got a really big battle that we're getting ready to cover in this part of the story. So obviously, if you're new here to the channel or you stumble across this video by accident, you want to go to the Naruto Explained homepage of the YouTube channel. There's a subsection titled Naruto Novels Set in the Boruto Era. You'll want to click on the playlist that is titled Sasuke Shinden, the Teacher Star Pupil, and start from there. Any of your questions as to where this takes place in the timeline, what happened before this, why Boruto's in this fight, all those questions will be in that playlist. As a brief reminder, this is the light novel where Sarada did get her 3-tomo Sharingan. So if you read that Boro fight in the manga and you weren't sure how Sarada got her 3-tomo, it's because it took place in this novel. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to assume that you guys are all caught up with the story so far. So we're going to get right into it. So if you guys will recall, at the end of the last video, one of the things that we saw was that Boruto was in a situation where he came face to face with the fact that the pop singer that he was protecting, his client Lily, ended up being a bad person, much in the same way that Sasuke warned him and much in the same way that Sarada warned him. When they first encountered Lily, Sarada's first reaction was, I don't trust her story. We need to take her to the Hokage. We need to let Naruto make the final call on this. Boruto went to bat for her, and they end up taking her on as a client. And lo and behold, they ended up getting in the way of one of Sasuke's missions. And Sasuke, upon meeting Lily, immediately is like, I need to use Sharingan Genjutsu. I need to interrogate her. Something doesn't seem right. But because of everything that Boruto's done, Sasuke ends up taking the fall for the character of Lily in all the backlash, and that's how we ended up in this situation here. Previously, Boruto ended up getting hit 3 times by bullets that were being shot by Lily, and so now that we've kind of caught up a little bit, I want to say that when it gets to the battle that's taking place here, Lily, she isn't the physically strongest person, but one thing you should know from just being a fan of Naruto, even if you started with Boruto and you did not watch Naruto, you did not watch Naruto Shippuden, or you didn't read the Naruto manga, which I know there are a lot of you guys who fall into both of those categories. Even in Boruto, they've made it clear that the strongest person doesn't always win. Sometimes it's the person who has the battlefield advantage, or it's the person who has more skill, or it's the person who has the overpowered jutsu. So in the case of Lily, she falls into this latter category. So she's a lightning style user, but she's very crafty in the way that she uses lightning release. And one of the ways that I described her lightning release jutsu was the fact that the level of control and just the nature of the jutsu is something that puts you on par with that jutsu that Tsunade used when she was able to scramble up the electrical impulses of Kabuto when they fought during the Search for Tsunade arc. Lily's jutsu is able to take control of your body by controlling the electrical impulses, but also Lily, when it comes to how she uses her lightning release jutsu, she definitely becomes a problem for somebody like Boruto and for somebody like Sarada. So you can't attack her in close quarters combat, because if you do, then you open yourself up for her jutsu. And if you attack her at long distance using ninja tools, so shuriken, or you're throwing swords, or even if you're using other projectile type weapons, Lily has a way to counter all that. So it's gonna be very curious to see how Boruto handles fighting somebody like this. And I'm gonna say that when we go into this battle scene, one thing you really should keep in mind with this character of Lily is that she's the walking embodiment of part 1 of Naruto, where they hammer home a ninja must always learn to see past deception. So keep that in mind as you're listening to this fight. So with the scene and the context finally being set, it's here I'm going to begin reading the passage from the light novel. Then I'm going to come back to you guys my thoughts, and it's here, I quote, Boruto stood rooted to the spot, stunned, unable to accept the sight before him. Sarada took a step forward. Boruto trusted you. I won't let you get away with this, Sarada shouted, and she threw a shuriken. Instead of stepping aside, Lily swiftly held up her hand in front of her body, palm out, fingers pressed together, and straightened her back. Sarada's shuriken should have plunged into Lily's chest, but instead the blade swerved wildly to one side just as it was about to hit Lily. Its once straight trajectory curving unnaturally, and the blade stabbed into Lily's open palm. Huh? Shaken, Sarada immediately threw 3 more shuriken, but the result was the same. The shuriken curved wildly to one side. and were almost sucked into Lily's hand. "Why can't I hit critical points?" Sarada said and furrowed her brow. Plasma crackle and pop all around Lily's hand. Her palm was enveloped in electricity, which meant did she concentrate the current in her hand to create a magnetic field? Boruto wondered, stunned. She had generated a magnetic field in her hand using an electrical current and avoided any critical hits by pulling in the medical shuriken and the kunai. Boruto and Sarada wouldn't be able to do any real damage with long-distance shuriken attacks. It was indeed a desperate way of fighting. "A close-range battle it is," Boruto shouted as he leaped at Lily. She pulled all 4 shuriken out of her hand and launched them at Boruto. They closed in from all directions, including his blind spot. It will be impossible to dodge them all. He braced himself for at least one hit, bending over to protect his heart and his other vital organs. Ting ting, the shuriken bounced back with a crisp sound. By the time he realized that Sarada had knocked him down with an assist by throwing shuriken, Lily was already on top of him. Boruto grabbed the barrel of her gun and yanked it upward just as she fired twice. The recoil from the shots made the bones in his fingers tingle. Boruto pulled his arm back with everything he had, ready to rip the gun from her hands, but Lily didn't resist. Instead, she let go, causing him to lose his balance and pitch forward. "Whoa," Boruto said. Ready for this opening, Lily thrust a hand out to press down on his chin and shoved the long fingernail of her thumb into his mouth. "This is bad," Boruto thought. He bit down as hard as he could on his thumb. Not only did Lily not flinch, but she smiled slightly. "If your body's covered in pure water, then I just have to release the current inside of your body," Lily said. An intense, fiery shock shot through Boruto's body. Boruto screamed. Fireworks exploded before him, and his body reeled backwards. Every muscle in his body seized, and he shook almost hard enough to turn himself inside out. His mind was going white, and he desperately tried to hang on to his fading consciousness. He couldn't pass out now and leave Sarada to fight Lily on her own. No way is Shinobi's gonna lose to a stupid idol in a fight, Boruto thought to himself. Through sheer willpower, he raised a trembling hand and grabbed Lily's wrist. In his other hand, he needed chakra, Rasengan, but his muscles were still trembling uncontrollably. He wouldn't be able to fine-tune this blow, and if he hit her with a full-power Rasengan, he was sure Lily wouldn't survive. Boruto groaned. He bent back so far backward that his spine was beginning to crack. "I don't have time to hesitate. I have to do this," Boruto thought. "Take that!" Sarada landed a kick on Lily's side. The idol's finger yanked out of Boruto's mouth. Lily's slender body flew helplessly through the air and somersaulted across the deck. Freed from the electrical attack, Boruto got to his knees, panting. He wiped the sweat away. The Rasengan that he needed into existence disappeared with a faint whoosh. "Boruto, are you okay?" Sarada said as she checked on him. "Yeah, I can move," Boruto replied. "That's Sarada. No mercy. She doesn't hold back, not even against another woman," Boruto thought. His relief was fleeting. Once he got to his feet, his jacket suddenly puffed up. "Huh?" The kunai in his pocket ripped through the fabric of his jacket and flew upwards. "Ah, damn it!" Boruto reached out, but his fingers grazed the kunai in vain. The weapon shot towards Lily's bloody hand and dug into the center of it. A smile flitted across her face as she yanked it out and turned the tip not to Boruto or Sarada, but instead towards her own throat. She would kill herself before she would let herself be captured, just like the other Purple Moon members. "Lily, stop!" Boruto shouted as he leaped at her. Boruto knew it'd be no use. He wasn't going to make it in time. A black cloak flapped behind her. There was a flash movement as something chopped down on her wrist, and the kunai fell from her hand. Sasuke kicked the blade into the ocean. "Seems somebody slipped out of house arrest," Sasuke said. Lily stiffened. Sasuke's tone was extremely even, but there was a hard edge to it that sent a shiver up Boruto's spine. He'd never seen Sasuke like this before. End quote. So, I gotta say, first and foremost, I love that ending where Boruto, he's looking over at Sasuke and he's like, man, this is a different side of Sasuke right here. And what I personally love about this is that Sasuke's watching this whole thing happen from the shadows. He's not only studying Lily's jutsu, but he's also giving Boruto and Sarada the opportunity to take down Lily themselves. He understands how important it is for Boruto to not only confront the harsh reality that Lily could not be trusted and that he himself was wrong, but Boruto also has to get that experience of having to fight somebody who betrayed your trust. That is a important aspect for Boruto as a ninja to be able to understand that. And so I like seeing that. I also like the fact that when Boruto was in a situation where he knew that I'm going to get hit by at least one of these shuriken that's thrown at me, I'm going to cover my heart, I'm going to cover my vital points, I'll just take the one that's going to hit me in my blind spot. Boruto did so instinctually, and what I like about that is that Sarada also covered his 6 because Sarada's throwing the shuriken in order to stop him from being hit at all. So I like how you see the dynamic between the two of them where they're covering up for one another. I did think it was kind of funny how Lily was like, yo, this kid already been hit with 3 bullets. I'm about to hit this kid at point blank range. I love that moment when she was about to pop this dude with the gun, man. Like, that's right there with Nagato, where Nagato's holding Killer Bee and Nagato just bust out the laser gun and had this right in this man's face. I love that right there because that was one of those times where like Lily had the heater and she's like, man, I'm about to put 2 in this man. Let's see if this man can get his rap album started now. Like, I love that. Now, the other thing too is Lily's fighting style. It should be something that reminds you of that Magna release user that you saw in the war where the guy was able to attract any type of kunai and weapons that were being used. It should remind you of something like that, but in this instance, she's using lightning release in a similar manner to be able to attract these kunai. So I thought that was a cool little application right there. Again, you see how people are using ninjutsu and they're using science and they're finding a way to further refine chakra nature based attacks. So I do like that you see some of that progress being made there. Now, another thing I thought was pretty interesting was that when Boruto's fighting Lily and he's fighting up close and personal, he's actually playing into her hand because Lily understands that they fight from a distance that eventually it's going to be a stalemate. So what she does is she tricks Boruto into wanting to fight up close and personal, and that allows her to put her thumb inside of his mouth, and that's when she says, okay, like, you still have electrical impulses in your body, so that you have pure water around your body, so you negated my attack, but you can't protect your insides. And what I like about that is that she did that against somebody who's part Hyuga. The Hyuga clan, they have the gentle fist, whereas somebody like Rock Lee and Mike Guy, they have the strong fist fighting style. The strong fist fighting style is meant to break and shatter bones with each attack. The gentle fist targets your insides because you can do all this fighting and etc., but at the end of the day, you can't protect your internal organs. Lily did something very similar, and the fact that Boruto's in so much pain, this dude's seeing white, this dude is basically getting ready to bend over backwards to a point where his spine is about to snap. That's just show you the level of pain he's in. And I like the fact that Sasuke's just watching the whole thing. He's like, okay, time to step in now before this little kid gets his ass killed. Like, I love how Sasuke's basically like, hey, I'm gonna let them fix their own problem, and if it gets too crazy, that's when I'll step in, and that's when I'll play the role of good sensei. So overall, I thought that this was a very, very good moment for not just Boruto, but also for the members of Team 7 to get real mission experience. Now, what I want to know from you guys is, how did you feel about Lily's fighting style, and how did you feel about Sasuke's decision to allow Team 7 to fight this character on their own before he stepped in? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.